Hi, Seekers. Welcome to Moon Magic. I am so excited to sit with you and talk with you about a full moon that is right after my own heart because it's a full moon in Sagittarius on May 29th. For those of you who have been following me for a while, Sagittarius is home. This is my crew. These are the people that I tend to gravitate towards. This is my home. I'm a Sagittarius rising. So I feel like a lot of the way I put myself forward in the world has to do with this energy. So I'm always just really, really excited when anything is associated with Sagittarius energy. And honestly, this moon is a little interesting. It's got a little bit of an edge, but for some reason I'm feeling really positive about it. It's probably because I already have in my mind that, Sagittarius full moon is going to feel very bright and luminous and fiery and festive and fun and playful and investigative and curious. And I love all of those things. So yes, this is happening on May 29th in 8 degrees of Sagittarius. That's a nice solid placement, earlier degrees of Sagittarius. And of course, we're just hitting into Gemini season right now. Gemini season always puts me a little bit on my guard. I have to kind of take a deep breath during Gemini season. And I was actually thinking about that. What it is about Gemini season that puts me a little bit on edge. I think it's this. And I think it affects a lot of people this way. This is Mercury energy, so Gemini is ruled by Mercury, right? And this kind of desire to communicate and have a lot of ideas going on all the time. The ability to think is so great and the ability to communicate that. But sometimes it can feel almost breathless in that desire to get the message across. And so for me personally, having the sun in Gemini, it's fun energy, and I really like it. And as a lot of you know, a lot of my best friends that I spend time with are Gemini as well. So I connect with this energy a lot in my life, in my day-to-day life, and yet I feel nervous around it. But here's the thing, right? This duality, the polarity of Gemini Sagittarius. It's beautiful and I love it. It's very philosophical. It's very intellectual. It's very bright and brilliant. We're looking at like the smaller lens of the day-to-day communication, and then the bigger lens of Sagittarius of like the big picture, world travel, interstellar travel, who knows? Philosophy, the big ideas, the much bigger, almost sometimes amorphous ideas that come with that. Whereas the sun in Gemini is much more about how are you going to communicate things? How are you going to get this done? How are we going to build this bridge right here? Which is beautiful, and we need that energy. So I like this because it's got some electricity to it. That's the way I would say the Sagittarius full moon always is going to have a little bit of electricity because of that polarity and just the way that it works. It's a very playful, vibrant, bright, risk-taking energy that tends to speak its mind on both ends of the spectrum, both in Gemini and Sagittarius. So I tend to really love it, but like I said, it can kind of put you on edge a little bit, where you feel a little bit like really eager, really anxious to get going, really wanting to push forward into new territory, maybe even impatient for answers or clarity where you feel there already should be some. I say that often about full moons because full moons are starting to illuminate this bigger picture and you're seeing it all. And that just always kind of brings up where we need to put our foot next. And it can make us, those few days around the full moon, can put us in this position where we realize where we have to take action, where we realize we have to have conversations, where we realize we have to get into the nitty-gritty of all of this. So I'm not going to get into too many aspects with this moon, to be honest. There's one major one, which is the Mars is in Aquarius, so it's doing, a soft sextile to the full moon in Sagittarius. Mars in Aquarius is an interesting one. Aquarians are kind of going through a shift. They've got their ruling planet heading into a very grounded square off against their sign, and, Taurus energy squares Aquarian energy, these fixed signs, right? And we have Uranus going into Taurus, so Aquarians are feeling this. They're going to be feeling this moon, I think, a lot. But the Mars in Aquarius is really interesting because Mars is this is the god of war, right? This is that energy of wanting to just take action. and make things happen. And it's like the ultimate masculine energy, really. And a lot of times people associate it with like your sexual style, right? Like quite literally. And in Aquarius, which is this another expansive sign, we're looking at how we're revolutionizing the collective and how we're revolutionizing our communities. And having like the Sagittarius Aquarius energy lit up this way and sextiling this way is really interesting to me, because to me these two signs are the most they're the most expansive, they're the most freedom seeking, and they have the biggest lens. They tend to have these lenses that are very, very brilliant and smart, and you're looking out at something much bigger. And so there is a sense with this moon that there's this ability to see a huge picture, right? Like a lot of times, we have a lunar cycle every month, and we have a full moon every month, and we have that chance to kind of see how everything's laid out, and maybe we can see a few weeks ahead. There's something about this moon where I almost feel like there will be a little agitation, because sometimes when you can see a really big long-term thing, 6 months or a year down the line, it's almost too much information, and it can make you a little bit itchy. It can make you feel a little bit emotional or volatile. It can make you feel anxious. And as I always say with full moons, it can also make you feel like picking up that phone or writing that letter or doing something a little bit wild or unexpected with this energy. So keep an eye out for that. I mean, these are really powerful energies. Having Mars in Aquarius and the moon in Sagittarius, these are energies that aren't afraid to kind of push buttons and shift things around a little bit. So it has that energy to it. But I am excited about that. And I think a lot of people, we need that. I think there's been kind of this almost sleepwalking energy where ideas have started to be germinating, but there's yet more energy. And I think this gives that like nice electric shock to the whole system. And actually I had some key words. I was sitting with this moon feeling really really vulnerable before I filmed this. Actually, I was surprised because I'm so excited about this moon and I was feeling so vulnerable, and I sat down and I was starting to like just look at what the energy is and what's going on there, and then these words came out about it, and we have tender, powerful, sensual, and provocative. So those are the 4 key words that I would say: tender, powerful, sensual, and provocative. That's a really fun combination for certain personality types. I have to say that I love those words and I love that combination. For me, that's kind of a dream combination of energy. But, there's volatility in fire. There's volatility in fire. The moon, this water goddess, who's so in touch with our emotional side, right? And our shadow side and our deeper depths, getting lit up in this fiery, passionate, expansive energy is really powerful all on its own, regardless of the rest of what we're talking about here. It's this beautiful element. I'm a major fire girl over here, and I love it. It's warming, it's vibrant, but it can burn, it can destroy, it can take off, it can singe. And I do have to say that some people may experience this moon as a little bit of a singeing feeling almost. For those that aren't feeling in the flow with fire energy for whatever reason, you could even have a lot of fire in your chart and be not feeling totally in your element and be feeling a little bit of that burn within yourself. So that's something to keep in mind. We still have Neptune in Pisces and Jupiter in Scorpio doing a nice trine there, but they're having this nice conversation in the background that's very water focused. And these 2 water signs of Scorpio and Pisces, it's very emotional, and that's been going on, and that will be going on for a number of months moving forward. So that's not something that's going to feel different for any reason, yet that is going on. And I think the thing with fire is it is exposing. Fire exposes. It's a source of light and heat. And even people that really love this element, and I think Sagittarius, you guys tend to expose. I know you know what I'm talking about. There is an element of exposure to this moon. As I'm sitting here feeling this out, I'm realizing that is exactly the word on top of those other words: exposure. Exposure to self, exposure to the reality of what you really want. I know we were talking about with Uranus moving into Taurus, there is a truth-bringing element going on there. But this moon specifically will make you feel exposed to yourself. You can't really hide from those things that have been haunting you or moving with you or making you question what you want next. For those of you, in deep partnerships or in deep friendships or in deep questioning about where you're going to be living next or who you're going to be around next or any of those things, you may find you have a conversation where you feel very exposed and you have to really show your cards. This is the kind of moon that just doesn't leave much room for evading the big questions. And I think that's a great thing. I think that's a fantastic thing. I think that's what a full moon is great for. But, sometimes that can leave you feeling a little raw. So, be patient with yourself a little bit. You may have an answer or a conversation that you didn't feel quite ready for. And it could be a good one too. It can be something that opens up a door, but you realize, oh, you have to show up to that. Same thing with you have to close out a job or a living situation or some kind of partnership. It can leave you just feeling overwhelmed by realizing that this thing is happening, right? Like, showing up to the next phase is a really big part of this. We're still really tender from a energetic shift that happened with Uranus into Taurus that has really, it's still, with this full moon, this is the first full moon since that shift, and I think there's still some tenderness going on there. There's still some fragility, and so there is a fragility despite the fact that we have the exposure and we have the fire and we have the passion and we have the gusto, and believe me, I have a feeling this moon could bring out some very passionate experiences for all of you. That's exciting. You can never say no to that. Like I said, fire brings some great stuff with it. But, exposure is a big part of joy. To be exposed, to fully show your cards, to fully show your interest, to fully admit to your big ideas. Cards are falling. I'm starting to shuffle. And I'm going to pull 5 tonight as I'm sitting here. Because, sharing your big ideas about what you want to do next with a new business or with where you want to move or where you want to travel or who you want to be next can feel just as exposing as telling somebody you like them or vying for a job promotion, right? These are all exposure things, but that's where true passion and excitement comes from, is the exposure, right? And you have to find your own balance within that, with what is exposure and what is singeing and what is damaging and what is merely cleansing, right? Wow. And the cards here are gorgeous, you guys. I wasn't even really looking at what's going down here, and I just looked down, and it's pretty good stuff. We have the 3 of Wands, can't think of a better Sag energy, the Knight of Swords, the 6 of Swords, the Sun, and the 10 of Cups. Now, oh my gosh. First of all, these are all really supportive, so I love that for us. I love that we're having movement. Moving and shaking is big right now. There's a lot going on with movement of pieces, like a really quick game of chess. There's a lot happening, and there's not a lot of just sitting and watching. There's big decisions being made here. But let's open up with 3 of Wands. Because this is, I've been talking about the unimaginable horizon a lot. But the 3 of Wands is when you start to see some of those parts that make it possible to move forward. And that's where I'm saying, I feel like this moon is going to illuminate such a big, some of you may be really seeing 100 steps ahead, which, like I said, sometimes that's too much information because you can see them and not be able to do anything about a lot of the steps way down there, right? You can only do so many right here, right now. And this is kind of that future vision energy. A lot of times when I see 3 of Wands, it's like, oh, you're getting the goods, you're getting the information, you're getting the green light, yet there's a lot coming at you with this energy. So the ships are coming in. There is this clarity of your horizon ahead, which is fantastic. Like I said, it's a lot of information. Journaling, slowing down a little bit, despite the fire element, the passion element. Check in, write some lists down. I'm a big fan of lists. And make sure you're checking in with that, because you might have some really big ideas and it may be a lot to keep up with, those download moments, right? And that's the thing, you know, the next two cards, leave it behind. This is dual aspected, because on the one hand, you can see this, you know, the Knight of Swords for me is movement. It is cutting to the quick. It is saying what you need to say. Like I said, conversations could come up very quickly that you weren't expecting to have about a certain topic or situation, and suddenly you're there, you know, in it. Like the Knight of Swords comes in very quickly, right? And the Six of Swords is about leaving something behind, but that's the thing with the Six of Swords. That's the classic way to look at it, right? You have all these mental woes that you're carrying with you, and you decide to get in that boat and turn your back on what's no longer serving you, right? That's the symbolism here. But the equally important symbolism is that you've chosen to head out to something you don't know yet. And that's really what I'm seeing here. I mean, especially with the Three of Wands, right? All three of these are a willingness to face forward into that adventure that you want to have, knowing that you will be exposed, knowing that you won't get to hide behind a facade, knowing that you will have to show who you are and how you feel about yourself and those around you, and that you will have to take risks that you know you want to take, but they're scary. I mean, this is exposed energy. When you really fully admit to those big dreams that are hiding within yourself, and you are brave enough, it's a big thing, brave enough to really expose that, it's a tender moment. It's sexy too, FYI. But that's what this energy is. The people who are willing, those of us who are willing, and it's the right time and it feels good to do that exposure, get the rewards. They get the experience, right? The Sun and the Ten of Cups. All right, now, like, I normally wouldn't say that this is a moon for commitment or, you know, more of those traditional value kind of things where, you know, you're like, oh, I'm so in love and this is it. But there is an element to that, right? And this is that right here. This is the playful side of that, right? The things we really want to commit to, those emotionally fulfilling things, ideally they should come out of a place of playfulness and lightheartedness and creativity. Now, you guys know I'm a Leo, so the Sun card coming on is always a good thing, and I already had good feelings about a Sag full moon. This is my jam. This is my jam. I'm trying to stay big picture, collective, but man, I cannot tell you how much I love Sagittarius energy. Here we have that fun, creative, vibrant side. Anything you're going to commit to, anything that, you know, any of these insights that may be coming in with full moon energy, which is so illuminating and intense, pay attention to the ones that make you feel playful and lighthearted, like this kid on the horse, right? That state of being where you think about what you love to do at 6 years old, and it was easy. You didn't have to think about it. You just did it, and it was fun. The things that are feeling that way, expose yourself and go for it. The things that feel a little heavy, a little wonky, make you feel slowed down or trapped, pay attention to what that is. I'm not telling you to just cut it all off within those few days around the moon, but there is like I said, you know, Sag, Aquarius, Gemini energy, all of those, which are major players in this moon, are truth tellers. And that energy just doesn't do well with pretense necessarily. So it's a lot of truth bringing. Full moons always do that anyway, but this one specifically is with the more blunt personality types, or the blunt energy. So, you know, it doesn't have to be a person telling you something bluntly. Sometimes energy itself is very blunt and it can kind of take you, sideswipe you, right? But what that's trying to do is really get you real with where you want to expose yourself and where it's not worth it. Because believe me, we've all been there where you decide to put yourself out on the line or expose yourself to something that you didn't really love or didn't really connect with, but you felt you needed to, and it feels icky, right? You want to choose your exposures to things that feel very true for you. So that is where I'm going to leave it. I can't say anything more. These are all fantastic energies. I have a good feeling about it. Just be forewarned that that blunt instrument of truth and brightness can really throw you off center a little bit. And as always with full moons, I am a big advocate of taking it easy. Do rituals that feel good to you. Make sure you're just checking through your body and your heart chakra, especially with fire energy like this. Heart chakra, even though Sag rules the hips, I told you, sensual with Mars and Aquarius, even though Sag rules the hips, fire is really connected to the heart and the heart chakra. So when you have a lot of fire lit up like this, it's a really good time to make sure that you're feeling through that area and breathing through that area, as well as your throat chakra with communication. So these are all areas that I would suggest just checking in with. I love you guys, and I am wearing, as you can see, I'm wearing something really fun, which is this crown from Tiffany at PinkLune. Yes, there are ribbons on this crown. I just want to show you long, really fun ribbons that you can tie and put around. And of course, this is a one-of-a-kind crown that she handmade specifically for the Sagittarius full moon. There are so many beautiful stones on here. I believe it's 29. I hope I'm saying that right. That will be available at her Etsy store. Like, this is the crown. There is one of these, and the one that I'm wearing right now will be sent to you if you decide that you would like to order it. So I will leave the link for this beautiful flower moon crown below. I wish you guys such a beautiful Sagittarius full moon. I cannot tell you how much I'm excited for that electrical boost. It's been a tender week. I know a lot of you have been feeling the tender points in this. I love you all so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave. Also, check me out on Instagram. You guys, so many of you have joined me on the journey, and I'm so excited. At the Sarah Tarot. We are having so much fun over there. I love it. I love that community as I'm building that and playing around with conversations with all of you. It's so fun. And then I will leave my website and my email below. I have a lot of projects in the works. I would really love to work with you one-on-one and keep you in the loop for what's next. So please check that out. I am going to be with you very shortly for new monthly readings. I love you all so much, and I will see you for the next Moon Magic.